you're going to compare?
To the house. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. If I can kindly have your attention before we start the formal function. Just a number of housekeeping points for both the Lajna and the men's side. Today, as you know, this is being held for the Baitul Futuh region, and a couple of housekeeping points as follows. We are not expecting any fire alarms or being tested today, but there is a fire alarm to your left and to my right, and for the Lajna, to the Lajna's right, there's a fire exit, and in the event there is any alerts, if you can please make your way towards the back of Baitul Futuh Mosque. As the formal proceedings will be shortly starting, if we can kindly request you to put your mobile phones on silent. And the following agenda for this evening's event will be a number of presentations by the national secretaries, and followed by a concluding speech, inshallah, by respected Amir Sahib UK, and then a question and answer session, and then dinner, inshallah, will be served shortly after 8 p.m. So moving into the formal proceedings, on behalf of respected Amir Sahib UK, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, and on the Baitul Futuh Executive Committee, we'd like to welcome you to the Baitul Futuh Regional fundraising event specifically for the Baitul Futuh Regional Jamaats. Today's event is a number of events taking place across the country. Over the last month, we've held events in the Middlesex region, the Midlands region, the Northwest region, inshallah in the South region tomorrow. And starting the official proceedings, I'd like to request Maulana Samir Ahmed Sahib to lead us with the recitation of the Holy Quran, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء والله واسع عليم الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله ثم لا يتبعون ما أنفقوا منا ولا أذى لهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. The verses recited before you are of Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 262 and 263. In the name of Allah, the Gracious, ever merciful. The similitude of those who spend their wealth for the cause of Allah is like the similitude of a grain of corn which grows 7 ears, in each ear 100 grains. And Allah multiplies it further for whomsoever He pleases. And Allah is bountiful, all-knowing. They who spend their wealth for the cause of Allah then follow not up what they have spent with taunt or injury. For them is their reward with their Lord, and they shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah Murabi Sab. If I may now request the regional emir of the Baitul Futuh region to come and address us, please.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Respected Amir Sahib, National Amla members and Jamaat members, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. I've been given the pleasure to welcome you all to this fundraising. I know it's difficult time, so thank you all for coming. During this fundraising, just want you to remember one key sort of point, which is that our region is named after this mosque. Yeah? So this is, for many of us, a daily place that we come for worship and for other purposes. So we have this extra responsibility placed on us when we compare ourselves to other regions. All right? So I urge you all to basically think of that we have this extra responsibility. So please dig deep today, because we're at a critical phase of the project. This event has been put together by a number of teams, so I want to just take a few minutes to thank them and also ask you to remember them in your prayers. Khudamul Ahdiya, as you can see, is basically helping intimately. They'll be helping throughout the night. The Sami Basri team, the technology team, they all basically have come together, the finance team, etc. They've come together to basically make this event hopefully a successful event. Okay, so please remember them in your prayers. I'd also like to thank, Amir Saab and Naib Amir Saab, Nasiruddin Saab, for helping and for guiding us, through the minefield of laying on such a big event. So Jazakallah for that. And Jazakallah for all those who have come, and may God bless you. Jazakallah.
Jazakumullah. Moving on to our formal presentations for the evening, if I may now request our National Secretary Jadad, Irfan Qureshi Saab, to come and present an overview of the Baitul Futuh project.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Respected Amir Saab, members of the National Amla, the regional teams, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We had a similar function like this last year in February. That was one of the first functions that we had on the Baitul Futuh fundraising appeal. We are delighted, extremely delighted to welcome you all again. And as Regional Amir Sahib just mentioned, that this is the host region of where the construction is actually taking place. We had this year functions in Birmingham, Manchester, and recently in the Middlesex region. We hope and pray that tonight also becomes another night that we can remember, and this region comes forward to raise a lot of funds for the construction of this mosque or mosque complex. The Baitul Futuh Management Committee, approved by Hazur Aqdas, is chaired by respected Amir Sahib, and I'm fortunate to be a member of that committee too. We have been working on this project since after the fire. A professional team of consultants and a competent contractor is on site, and you all have seen that the shell and core of the building is nearly complete, and we've also started fit out of internally in the building. So there are a lot of design team meetings, various stakeholder meetings that are taking place, and Alhamdulillah, only recently, last Tuesday, Hazur visited the site, and in detail he went through various aspects of the construction that are being put in place. All key decisions after approval from Hazur are taken by the redevelopment committee. We will now show you a presentation.
The Ahmadiyya community in the UK built their first mosque, Fazl Mosque, in the town of Southfields in London. The mosque was opened in 1926 and was built through donations by Ahmadi Muslim women. The Fazl Mosque foundation stone was laid by the then Khalifa of the community, Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, Khalifatul Masih II. Through the blessings of Allah, the Fazl Mosque has been host to thousands of events since its creation. Due to the ever-progressive nature of the community and the rapid expansion in the number of Jamaat members, Fazl Mosque soon reached its peak capacity. The community began looking for a new site. After looking at various other sites, a suitable site in Morden was found. Khalifatul Masih IV launched a new appeal to fund the development of a new mosque in Morden on the 24th of February 1995.
इस वक्त मैं 5 मिलियन की तहरीक जमात इंग्लिस्तान की मरकजी मस्जिद के लिए करता हूँ इस दुआ और नियत के साथ कि ये लाजिमन इंग्लिस्तान की वसी तरीन मस्जिद हो इबादतों की गुंजाइश पर जोर होना चाहिए जो 7 मुल्क इमारतें हैं या दूसरे नखरे हैं उनको बेशक नजरअंदाज कर दें.
The site was originally a milk processing factory that had been abandoned. Owned formerly by Express Dairy, the site served as a distribution centre. Large trucks would arrive with milk from farms that would be bottled inside the factory and then sent off to customers all over the southeast of England. The 5.2-acre site originally also featured a rail line with sidings for the delivery of milk. The factory was abandoned in 1992 and had been serving as an eyesore for the growing community of Morden. The site was inspected by Khalifatul Masih IV and the late national president of the community, Mr. Aftab Khan, prior to purchase. The site was purchased on the 29th of March 1996. Under the blessings of Khalifatul Masih IV, the site underwent extensive redesign for the mosque section itself, with a new structure being put in place, whilst other areas of the site, such as the various halls and one of the minarets, using the old structure of the factory, and were adapted to the new design of the complex. The foundation stone for the mosque was laid by Hazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmad, Rahmullah Alayh, Khalifatul Masih IV, on the 19th of October 1999. The complex was inaugurated by Khalifatul Masih V on the 3rd of October 2003. Since the inauguration, the site has become a pinnacle of the Jamaat. It has played host to over thousands of Ahmadi and non-Ahmadi events, serving both the Jamaat and the local community. The mosque is Britain's biggest, whilst also being the largest mosque in Western Europe. Since its inauguration, it has been part of the Open House London campaign and has been recognised by Spectator magazine as one of the top 50 buildings in the world, and by the Independent newspaper as one of the 50 best modern religious buildings in the world. An integral part of the London skyline, it is recognised for its unique architecture and historical significance. The complex has the capacity to house over 13,000 worshippers and is also home to the community's MTA International television station and to the Voice of Islam studios. Eid ceremonies, national peace conferences and thousands of other events have been held at the complex. On September 2015, a large fire ravaged through the complex.
The blaze was so intense the smoke could be seen 10 miles away. The site of London's largest mosque, the spiritual and cultural centre of the Ahmadiyya community in Europe, engulfed by flames.
See behind me those big black billowing smoke coming out of the Baitul Futuh Mosque. Now this is one of the biggest mosques in Western Europe.
The fire began in the kitchens of the Nasser Hall and spread to the Noor Hall and other offices, causing extensive damage to the administrative blocks. Over 80 firefighters from the London Fire Brigade were on site to tackle the blaze.
Like I said, the fire was contained literally with the area within Nasser Hall and the adjacent offices. Damage definitely has been done there, but the rest of the complex alhamdulillah is safe.
We used an aerial appliance to pour water onto the fire and within quite a short time managed to prevent the fire escalating. We worked with the construction of the building to ensure that in the end only a third of the building was affected, a third of the ancillary building was affected. So from our perspective, working very closely with representatives from the mosque, managed to target the key parts of the building to ensure what was important to them was prioritised and saved, and that's been the outcome.
The fire was of such a large scale, it was being covered by national and international media outlets, Whilst the local response to the fire was a show of great support, there were also those who expressed their joy in seeing a mosque aflame. The fire soon aroused those who wished to see the Jamaat's efforts perish. By the grace of Allah, no lives were harmed, and the fire was quickly contained before it could spread to the mosque. The fire caused extensive damage to the structure of the Nasir and Noor halls. Over 50% of the ground and first floor was lost due to structural damage, leading to a complicated demolition project over several months. Following the fire, Khalifatul Masih V reassured the community in his Friday sermon.
جیسا کہ میں نے بتایا پہلے بھی، یہاں مسجد کے متصل 2 ہالوں میں آگ کی وجہ سے بڑا نقصان ہوا، بڑی خوفناک آگ تھی۔ اس پر جب مختلف ٹی وی چینلز اور دوسرے میڈیا نے خبر دی ہے تو بعض بغض و کینہ میں بڑے ہوئے لوگوں نے بڑی خوشی کا اظہار کیا۔ ایک مثال میں نے پہلے بھی دی کہ اچھا ہوا یہ مسجد جل رہی ہے، بلکہ وہ تو یہ کہتے ہیں کہ یہ مسجد ہے ہی نہیں، یہ مسلمان، کیونکہ یہ مسلمان نہیں، اس لیے ان کا جو بھی عبادت کی جگہ ہے وہ جل رہی ہے۔ اور پھر جو افسوس کا بعد میں جب ان کو افسوس کا جس بات کا اظہار کیا ان لوگوں نے، پہلے تو خوشی منائی، پھر افسوس کا جو اظہار کیا وہ اس بات پر نہیں کہ کیوں حصہ جلا، بلکہ اس بات پر افسوس کیا کہ ان کے صرف 2 ہال جلے، مسجد کیوں نہیں جلی۔ اس بات پر ہمیں بڑا افسوس ہے۔ تو یہ تو آج کل کے بعض مسلمانوں کا حال ہے۔ ٹھیک ہے، آج یہ سبحان اللہ استہزاء کے رنگ میں اور اللہ تعالیٰ کی غیرت بھڑکانے کے لیے پڑھ رہے ہیں تو پڑھیں، لیکن انشاءاللہ جلد ہی اس سے بہتر اور خوبصورت تعمیر کر کے ہم حقیقی سبحان اللہ پڑھیں گے اور ماشاءاللہ ہی پڑھیں گے۔
With the approval of Khalifatul Masih V, a new design by John McCaslin Partners has been made to regenerate and match the overall design aesthetic of the mosque. The new plan features an impressive front facade to match the modern design of the mosque whilst retaining our Islamic heritage, and is extended to 5 floors. The new design also adds an additional 1,100 square meters of space on top of the lost 4,700 square meters, bringing the new total area to an impressive 5,800 square meters. In his sermon on the 3rd of November 2017, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, Khalifatul Masih V, may Allah be his helper, officially launched the Baitul Futuh redevelopment appeal.
اس کے بعد میں مختصراً ایک اور تاریخ بھی کرنا چاہتا ہوں جو UK کے لیے عمومی ہے اور دنیا کے مخیر حضرات جو ہیں جو صاحب حیثیت ہیں ان کے لیے، اور وہ ہے تقریباً 2 سال کا عرصہ تو گزر گیا، مسجد بیت الفتوح میں جب آگ لگی تھی کہ ایک حصے کو، اس جلے ہوئے حصے کی تعمیر نو کے لیے آج کل کچھ سالوں سے 1984 سے خلافت کے یہاں قیام کی وجہ سے دنیا سے افراد یہاں آتے ہیں، ان کی رہائش ہے، پھر مختلف فنکشنز ہوتے ہیں۔ اب تو دنیا کے ملکوں کے ذیلی تنظیموں کے بھی اور جماعتوں کے بھی بڑے بڑے وفود ویسے بھی سارا سال آتے رہتے ہیں، ان کی رہائش وغیرہ کا بھی مسئلہ رہتا ہے۔ مسجد کے ساتھ ملحق ہال اور کمرے ہوتے تھے پہلے، وہاں انتظام ہو جاتا تھا، جلنے کے بعد اب اس میں کافی تنگی پیدا ہو رہی ہے اور اس کی تعمیر نو کا منصوبہ تو بنا لیا گیا ہے۔ وہ لوگ جن کو پہلے اس کی تعمیر میں حصہ لینے کا موقع نہیں ملا، انہیں تو ضرور کوشش کر کے حصہ لینا چاہیے، کیونکہ یہ UK جماعت کا منصوبہ ہے، اس لیے عمومی طور پر تو جیسا کہ میں نے کہا UK کے MPوں کا ہی کام ہے، جماعت کا ہی کام ہے، اس میں حصہ لینا چاہیے، اور باہر کی دنیا کے بھی مخیر احباب جو ہیں اس میں حصہ لیں، ذیلی تنظیموں کو بھی، ذیلی تنظیموں کی حیثیت سے، جماعتوں کو بھی، جماعتوں کی حیثیت سے بڑی بڑی جماعتیں میں حصہ لینا چاہیے، کیونکہ سارا سال ہی اب تو یہاں باہر سے مہمان آتے ہیں اور UK جماعت ہر مہینے ان کی مہمان نوازی بھی کرتی ہے، بلکہ تعداد اب تو ہزاروں میں ہو گئی ہے۔ حضرت مسیح علیہ السلام نے ایک موقع فرمایا کہ عالمگیر کے زمانے میں مسجد شاہی کو آگ لگ گئی تو لوگ دوڑے دوڑے بادشاہ سلامت کے پاس پہنچے اور عرض کی کہ مسجد کو تو آگ لگ گئی. اس پر خبر کو سن کر بادشاہ فوراً سجدے میں گرا اور شکر کیا. حاشیہ نشینوں نے تعجب سے پوچھا کہ حضور سلامت یہ کون سا وقت شکر گزاری کا ہے کہ خانہ خدا کو آگ لگ گئی ہے اور مسلمانوں کے دلوں کو سخت صدمہ پہنچا ہے. تو بادشاہ نے کہا کہ میں مدت سے سوچتا تھا اور آہ سرد بھرتا تھا کہ اتنی بڑی عظیم الشان مسجد جو بنی ہے اور اس عمارت کے ذریعے سے ہزارہا مخلوقات کو فائدہ پہنچتا ہے، کاش کوئی ایسی تجویز ہوتی کہ اس کار خیر میں کوئی میرا بھی حصہ ہوتا. لیکن چاروں طرف سے میں اس کو ایسا مکمل اور بے نقص دیکھتا تھا کہ مجھے کچھ سوچ نہ سکتا تھا اس میں میرا ثواب کس طرح ہو جائے. آج خدا تعالیٰ نے میرے واسطے حصول ثواب کی ایک راہ نکالی ہے. واللہ سمیع علیم. بس جو پہلے جیسا کہ میں نے کہا اس قربانی میں حصہ نہیں لے سکے انہیں ضرور حصہ لینا چاہیے. 3 سال کے عرصے میں اپنی رقم کے وعدے جو بھی کریں ان کو پورا کرنے کی کوشش کریں، لیکن کم از کم تیسرا حصہ پہلے سال میں ہی ضرور ادا کر دیں.
The new foundation stone was placed by Khalifa al-Masih V on the 4th of March 2018 in the stone laying ceremony. The rebuilding work began in 2018. The project is being overseen by PDR Construction, a renowned firm that has delivered over 70 projects, ranging from residential builds to large-scale industrial facilities for over 25 years across the United Kingdom. The current construction has focused on both Phase 1, the superstructure, and Phase 2, the internal work, such as the mechanical and electrical systems. Both phases are being worked on simultaneously, and the superstructure of the design has been completed with all 5 floors now in place. Stonework is being carried out within the complex, with specialist stone being imported from a world-renowned quarry called LSI Stone, based in Portugal. The quarry has supplied stonework for over 500 international projects over 20 years, including landmark buildings ranging from large-scale commercial developments to bespoke residential projects. Recently, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, Khalifatul Masih, visited the site for an inspection.
Assalamu alaikum, Zul. Assalamu alaikum. Zul, can I introduce, this is Steve. He's running the project here for PDR. Chris is the architect for this site. Mark is the QS on the site. Ian, he's designed all the M&E on the site. इसके ऊपर फिर एक और हॉल है, वो इससे ज़्यादा बड़ा है, जो नेक्स्ट फ्लोर हॉल है.
But it will sustain that load.
یہ बीम ये चल रहा है नीचे छोटे रुख पे कोई
छोटे रुख पे कुछ हैं इंटरमीडिएट, बट सारे नहीं. कॉलोनेट के पास हैं इंटरमीडिएट.
ये भी लंबा एक बीम दे दिया है, इधर भी कोई नहीं
हाँ,
छोटे
वो तो हैं क्योंकि ये जो मेटल डेकिंग है ना वो रेस्ट कर रही है सेंट्रल बीम पे. सारी मेटल डेकिंग, ये स्टैंड मेटल डेकिंग
इस तरह के नीचे दिए हुए हैं.
जी जी
सारे इसके ऊपर पड़ रहे हैं.
जी जी.
ये हजूर यहाँ डॉमेट्रीज और यहाँ इस साइड पे कमरे होंगे और इस साइड पे डॉमेट्रीज होंगी. डाइनिंग हॉल मिडिल में हजूर, जैसे आपने कहा था मिडिल में. जी यहाँ, जी जी यहाँ. इसके ऊपर फिर एक और फ्लोर, इसके ऊपर एक और फ्लोर है, उसमें भी अकोमोडेशन ही है.
The work is currently ongoing, with Phase 1 and 2 scheduled for a 2020 delivery. May Allah bless the Jamaat and help us in our task.
Jazakallah. So, as we saw in the presentation, there are 4 phases on this project. The shell and core, which is the superstructure, is the first phase, which is nearly complete. We've started the fit out now, which is phase 2. Then finishes will come after that, which is phase 3. And phase 4 includes the ancillary buildings, which is the gatehouse and the facelift on the building close to the railway side, and then the finishes in the front area. So whenever I listen to Hazur's khutbah's extract, and because I was not fortunate enough to take part in the for the construction of the Baitul Futuh Mosque at the time, because I was a student and I was very early days for me in this country. But as my feeling is exactly the same feeling as what Hazur mentioned of the king, that he wasn't able to take part in the financial sacrifice when the mosque was built. But now this gives me an opportunity and my family to take part wholeheartedly for the construction of this scheme. So let us pray that we remain the fortunate ones during this time, that we can leave behind another landmark that our generations can remember and cherish, which is indeed the house of victories, Baitul Futuh, for not just the UK Jamaat, but all other Jamaats around the globe, from the pulpit of which our Khalifa speaks to the world. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah Irfan Sahab. May I now request Murabi Samar Sahab to give us a short presentation and Daras on financial sacrifices, please.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Whenever God showers a people or a community with His favors and His grace, He invariably requires some sacrifice from them. So in other words, sacrifice is essential if one wants to gain the nearness of Allah and His pleasure. And we all know that the sole purpose of man's creation is to worship Him. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. But then the question that you might have is, what sort of sacrifice is needed from us at this time? Well, of course, it's different at every stage or at every given time. At the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, 1400 years ago, it was a sacrifice of one's self, one's life. And this was because of the atrocities that the Meccans and the people of that stage and that area were putting down on the Muslims. And so, but fortunately, the Holy Prophet ﷺ, he also prophesied that at the time of the promised Messiah, Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi Yada'ul Harb, that he will do away with war. So he basically prophesied and foretold that it would not be necessary for us at this time to sacrifice our life at the time of the promised Messiah ﷺ. But there is some sort of sacrifice that we do need to make, and that is the jihad of the pen, the jihad of the self, not of giving our life away, but rather doing whatever we can for the propagation of Islam and for our own tarbiyat as well, for our children and our offspring. And so this isn't just as a means to attain the nearness of God and for Him to elevate our status in the hereafter, but it also benefits us in this transitory life in which we can come to the mosque as a safe haven, and we trust that our children can come to this beacon of light to be illuminated with the pristine and clear teachings of Islam. The promised Messiah ﷺ, he stated that what a blessed time this is. No one is asked to lay down his life. This is not the time for offering the ultimate sacrifice. Rather, it is the time to spend out of one's possessions according to one's means. Just over a century ago, the promised Messiah ﷺ, he was asking the members at that time for some funds to publish a book. And now, over 100 years later, we over here together, we are gathered here today, and we're raising money for a multi-million-pound project. And this itself is a giant sign when it comes to the truthfulness of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam. He stated in a very beautiful couplet of his that Use de chuke malo jaan bar bar, abhi khauf dil mein ke hai na bekar. That is, we have offered our life and wealth in the way of Allah many a times, but still we fear in our heart that it may not have been sufficient. This is the condition and feeling of every sincere believer, which always remains, because we can never return the favors of Allah in full. Even if we read the Holy Quran, we see that Allah the Almighty has mentioned that if we start counting His favors, we will never be able to number them. The promised Messiah, ﷺ, he stated that it is now time for all those who count themselves among my followers, that they should help this movement with their money. Everyone who has accepted the Bai'at should help according to his means, so that Allah too should help them. O my dear ones, this is the time for helping the faith and fulfilling its requirements. Make use of it, for this time will never return. The door to piety is a very narrow one. So remember that no one can enter it by spending useless and worthless things. Of course, we are here to give whatever we can, but according to our own means. But we shouldn't just be giving away pennies or pounds, but rather the clear injunction from the Holy Quran is لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. That you can never attain righteousness until you spend out of that which you love. If you're not ready to bear suffering to acquire true piety, how can you expect to succeed? Did the disciples gain their station without doing anything? Just look at how one has to work and toil in order to gain a worldly title, even though it does not have or give true peace and satisfaction. Then, how is it possible for the title of radiyallahu anhu, that is, may Allah be pleased with him, to be acquired with no difficulty? The truth is, that is not possible to gain without the pleasure of Allah, which is a source of true happiness. Until one does not bear momentary hardships, Allah cannot be deceived. And happy are those who care not for pain in order to attain His pleasure, for it is only after temporary suffering that the believer is granted the light of eternal joy and everlasting comfort. In the end, I would like to mention a hadith of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, in which he mentions that he said that there are only two people who should be envied, one of whom is the one Allah has blessed with wealth, and he spent it in the way of Allah wholeheartedly. And like Regional Mirza mentioned in the beginning as well, this very region that we belong to, it's named after Baitul Futuh. So even though Hazur mentioned that it's a duty for every person who is able to give, especially the residents of UK, in particular, I believe it's our duty and it's incumbent upon us to give as much as we can for this cause. Because remember, this is the mosque that we come to on a daily and regular basis, whether it's for our namaz, whether it's for our local activities, our regional activities, whatever it may be. We come here and this is our mosque, and so it is our duty and it's incumbent upon all of us so that we can, so for us to give as much as we can for this. May Allah accept our sacrifices, and as a result, may we attain His nearness and pleasure. May Allah bless our wealth and our children, and may we all meet Allah in a state that He is pleased with us all. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
Jazakallah Murabi Sahab for a very inspirational address there. As my dear colleague Irfan Qureshi Sahab mentioned in our presentations that we've been doing around the country, as well as giving the project overview, as Secretary of Finance UK, I'm also a member of the Baitul Futuh Executive Committee, and we also present an overview of the financial position to all of the Jamaat members. So very shortly, we'll give you an overview of our income and our expense and what the project costs are to date and what is the stages that we're currently in. But firstly, I think I'd also like to add that since the appeal was launched by beloved Hazur 3 years ago, by the grace of God, we have seen tremendous sacrifices and dedicated donations made by our Jamaat members across the country. And again, the time of the Khalifa's call and the projects that are currently running live across the UK, it's incumbent upon us to keep reminding our members of those promises that are outstanding in every region and in every Jamaat, but at the same time to keep you appraised of where the project is and what the level of sacrifices are truly required. So I'll now move on to the income section of the actual project. And we are currently at a position where if you look at the overall financial costs, these are to be refreshed from last month's numbers, but from including our insurance claim, including our post-fire costs, and our Jamaat collections. So in Jamaat UK branch collections, almost £4 million has been raised and banked from Jamaat members. From Majlis Ansarullah collections that are dedicatedly collected on behalf of Jamaat UK, they've raised approximately £310,000. Again, Lajna Imaila, by the grace of God, have collected and banked over £809,000, and the current report from Majlis Qadam al-Ahmadiyya UK is that they've raised just over 70,000. So our total net income for this project is approximately £9.7 million. If I could kindly request the Ziyafat team to please refrain at this stage from doing any serving until the end of the function, please. Moving on to the expense summary, as Secretary Jadad Foreign Qureshi Sahab mentioned to you, this is a 4-phase project, and in the current first 3 phases, which was the shell and core, the fitting out and the finishing, the actual proposed approved budget for this project is £13.7 million, so just rounding that up. The phase 4 part of this section is the ancillaries. The reason that we still have to be confirmed because there are a number of unknowns with the requirements that we have from not only the local council but from TfL, also the highways and also the railway section of what type of requirements are required outside of the front section of the Baitul Futuh complex. So £500,000 has been budgeted to date for that. So the total subtotal for the construction costs is approximately 14.2 million. On top of that, these are certain costs that have already been met, such as demolition, planning, QS and project management and architectural fees are approximately just over £862,000. So at this moment in time, the projected cost for the Baitul Futuh reconstruction of the complex is just under £15.1 million. So as a summary, as an overview, you will see that our total net income is 9.7 million. Projected costs are just over 15 million. So at this stage, there is a shortfall of 5.3 million pounds. And our total cost to date, we've actually expended is 9.2 million pounds, of which just over 7.4 million is directly to the contractor, PDR, that's on site at the moment. So that's physically been paid out already. So in conclusion, that is the current financial position. Again, this is subject to change basis on whatever other requirements that may be required and incumbent upon us. But our project managers, our QS, is working with our Baitul Futuh Executive Committee very closely. But again, it is our duty to appraise the members, the Jamaat members across the country of what the position is. So you are fully aware at all times of where we are currently with this project. Moving on to the actual collections and donations. Today, for those of you that are present physically in Dyer Hall, Baitul Futuh, you both have collection desks available to make donations. In addition, there are donation slips and promises envelopes which are placed on your tables individually. I'd just like to remind one thing, that when we did have this major function at Baitul Futuh last year, a number of individuals did come forward. They pledged and made significant sacrifices in accordance with their capacity. These promises are still due and are still outstanding, and we are working with the local administrations very closely to try and collect these promises. But today's event is about above and beyond. In addition to that, the key for donations, not just by card, for those that are watching by live stream on YouTube or calling in, you can also visit jamda.org.uk, and you can also pay via card on site today. One of the key aspects for us on all donations and to keep reminding members is gift aid. Gift aid is a scheme where we have a number of Jamaat members that have signed up and declared that we are able to collect an additional 25% of your donations if you are a taxpayer in the UK and you have paid sufficient tax in accordance with the level of donations. So I'd please urge you with your local Sadran and today any donations that please do declare that you are gift aid applicable and we are able to collect those donations. I would just like to end again. We meet a lot of regions around the country who have made significant sacrifices, and it's very humbling again that, as Irfan Saab said, he wasn't available or he was not had the privilege of donating in the first Baitul Futuh. Now, not giving away my age, but I was quite fortunate that I was able to participate in the first Baitul Futuh scheme, and being able to participate in the second one, as Khalifa Waqt said to us, that it is incumbent upon us as UK hosts and residents to please try and come forward. So may Allah enable us to fulfill our sacrifices and our promises. I would now like to request respected Amir Saab UK to please come and address the event.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Respected members of the National Amla and all the participants of this regional function, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is indeed a great pleasure that we are here for a very important functions today. This is something which people for hundreds of years to come will see a beautiful structure standing here, and all the people who come and use and pray in this beautiful mosque and its auxiliary structure will send blessings on all those people who have been responsible for the construction of this very beautiful structure. I thought I'll share a few, just reminiscing a little bit and share a few historical features with you about the UK Jamaat today. When I came here in the 1960s, there were very few families here. And there were, I would say, 10, 15 families. And we, at that stage, in the Fazl Mosque, during the winter it stayed closed because it was too cold and we didn't have proper heating. And in the summer, when we did open the mosque, on Fridays we would put a curtain, and the women used to be at the back and the men at the front. This was the Jamaat going back in the 1960s. The first Ijtima, that was held at Wimbledon Common, where I remember very near the windmill area. And I remember there were just a few of us, and we had a few races and just a few events, and then Hazrat Chaudhry Zafrullah Khan Sahib came and distributed the prizes. So it was a very small Jamaat. I remember that when we first decided to install heating in the Fazl Mosque, Chaudhry Ijaz Sahib, who a lot of you will remember, he's not here this afternoon, but he is one of those people in the Jamaat who has dedicated his services to this Jamaat. At the moment, I think he might be in Spain working for the Jamaat. And I remember that he was going to install a boiler for the Masjid Fazl. And I used to be his workmate, so I used to carry his toolbox for him, and that was my responsibility. And then during the same period, we would be painting the mosque both inside and outside. So it was a very small Jamaat, but there was a lot of love and harmony, and it was a willingness to help each other during that period. Then slowly and slowly other people started coming in, and at that stage, Fazl Mosque was the only mosque that existed in the UK. That was it. That was the epicenter of everything, anybody who came here. There were two houses, 61 and 63 Melrose Road, which we used to use during the winter. And we used to have, in the area upstairs, that would be the place where we would have our namaz. And then in the basement, we used to have a little room in the basement where we used to, have food. And there we used to have old plank tables. You know, nowadays you get very straight, very nice tables. At that stage, there were just the old wooden plank tables. And they doubled up both for our food, and also we used to play table tennis on them. And that went on for many, many years. So from those very humble beginnings, the Jamaat started to grow. Then, like us, more people came from Africa initially, and they came and started settling here in various parts of the UK. And then also, we started getting some people coming from Pakistan as well. So the Jamaat started to grow, and there was need felt that we needed now to build a hall for the Jamaat. So Hazrat Chaudhry Zafrullah Khan Sahib then wrote to Baitul Masih, Salis Rahimahullah, and said that it was his wish to build a hall for the Jamaat. But he put one condition, that he wanted to build it himself. So Hazur gave him the permission, and there was a land next to Fazl Mosque, between the railway line and the Fazl Mosque. That was Chaudhry Saab's land, and he wanted to sell it to the Jamaat. But at that stage, Jamaat did not have enough money to even buy that piece of land. So Chaudhry Saab had to send it to developers, so that the money he got from there, he built the Mahmood Hall that we have today. So that started the first building of a proper hall for the use of the Jamaat in this country. Then Hazrat Khalid Salis, when he came, he instructed the Jamaat, because the Jamaat was growing, that we should have at least 10 centers around the country, and we should have 10 properties for each of those centers. So then various properties were bought, during which we bought a property in Southall, in Hounslow, in Manchester, in Birmingham, and Bradford, and Glasgow. So these were some of the original properties that were bought to use as mission houses for the Jamaats in the various big cities. Then the arrival of Khilafat in this country in 1984. Now, just to paint you a little picture, is that when Hazrat Khalif Nasir Rabi Rahimahullah came, our first Jalsa Salana was held in Mahmood Hall. Now, you won't believe it, there could be only 300 or 400 people who could have been in the hall, and some ladies in the Nasrat Hall. And that is where the first Jalsa Salana took place. And the final day when Huzur Akhtas came and addressed the Jamaat, we had in Surbiton, we had a recreational center. That is where Huzur went and addressed, and we had 1,500 men and 1,500 women. So we had 3,000 people attended the first Jalsa Salana after the arrival of Khilafat in the UK. Then the next year, Allah blessed us with Islamabad. And it was 25 acres. We were so excited. We thought, 25 acres, such a big site. What are we going to do with 25 acres? For our concept was we'd never seen such a big site in the UK before. And so the next year, the Jalsa took place there. It happened when it was heavy rain. Some of you may have memories of it. And it rained so heavily that everything got stuck in mud. We used to have old marquees where we didn't have enough money during those days, so we had put straw and then put carpets on top of the straw, not like the beautiful flooring that we have now with padding and carpets. That was not the condition then. And because it rained so heavily, everyone got wet because the water came into the marquees. And then Hazur asked us to create channels outside so that the water should not come into the marquees, both for the main marquee and the accommodation marquee. And then I remember the last day when all the cars were stuck in the mud and the khuddam were picking the cars up physically and putting them onto the road. Hazur just drove down there to the boys and he beckoned them and wanted to embrace them. And the boys said, "No, Hazur, we are very dirty." He said, "No, no, come here. I want to embrace you." Because though the way they were working without any consideration for themselves was something that was inspirational. That was totally inspirational. All they were prepared to do is for the Jamaat, they would do anything, they would give anything. So there is very rich history in the UK Jamaat by the grace of Allah. Then I remember I was Secretary Tabligh when Hazur arrived here. And as you know, Hazur was very passionate about Tabligh. So we had, next to us, we had Whiteland College. And I organized a religious Founders' Day function there. And we invited various religious leaders. And I also sent an invitation to the Mayor of Wandsworth. And when the Mayor of Wandsworth accepted our invitation, we thought we had won the first prize. A mayor was coming to our function. That was the limit of our aspirations then. Now look at the blessing of Khilafat, where the Jamaat was then and where the Jamaat is today. Today, by the grace of Allah, on this very stage, when we have peace conferences, we have a line of secretaries of state, ministers, world leaders, and we don't even now have time to allow them to come and speak from our stage. And at Jalsa, when delegates from around the world come, high officers, ministers, presidents, to be honest with you, we don't give them time. We say 3 minutes, and a lot of the time, when the list is presented to me, I just cancel all the names because there's not time. So, in such a short period of time in the UK, we have seen the blessings of Khilafat and how the Jamaat has been transformed from what was a small, sleepy Jamaat, very dedicated, very active. But when Khilafat arrived in this country, there was a big wake-up call, and we were all taken with like a gust of wind into the fast lane. And that's never going to stop. We're going to constantly be running in the fast lane. It's only going to get faster from here on. But then it was felt by the Jamaat that we needed somewhere, Khalifa Rabi Rahimahullah felt that we needed somewhere a bigger place for the Jamaat. And then I remember I was also part of the planning committee. We looked in Hounslow, we looked along the A3, we looked at various places. But it's always Allah's will. And Allah had His own plans. So eventually this property was bought to us. And Khalifa Sarabi Rahimahullah, as you've seen in the presentation, came and saw, and he thought it was a very good place where we could build our mosque. It was close enough. So this thing was acquired at that stage for a very small amount of money. And then plans were afoot to build a mosque on this. So when Khalifa Rabi Rahimahullah launched the appeal, if you heard his words, he said he wanted something that would be beautiful, where people from everywhere would come and pray and engage in the worship of Allah. He didn't want any big designer stuff, but he wanted something that was going to be beautiful. And by the grace of Allah, Allah gave us this beautiful mosque. And when it was built, Allah must have sent a special message to people around the world because it got worldwide publicity. And the newspapers here, when we had the inauguration, we were completely taken back because every newspaper from around the world, every television channel from around the world, everyone wanted to come and look at this mosque. And it got so much publicity because Khalifatul Masih had called it the House of Victories. There was a special significance to that House of Victories. And there, the House of Victories was announced to the whole world that this has arrived and this is where victory is going to take place. And ever since then, we have seen again and again how this has become the focus, international focus of attention as people from around the world now come here and pay homage to Khilafat. And also, they want to be very much part of this very, very important Jamaat. Then, of course, came a very sad day when we had the fire. I was home and I was given the message that fire had started. I rushed immediately. At the same time, the fire brigades arrived and everything, and we started looking with them. They wanted to know which were the important areas that had to be saved, so MTA and libraries and exhibitions. So they put a ring round all that. And in fact, the fire came very close to the MTA because there was one door there where the fire was breaking through, and the firemen were standing at the other side with hose pipes to stop the fire from coming in. If it could come through that door, then it would have created a lot of problem for us in this half of the building as well. But it was such Allah's will. And as you heard Hazur Akhtas mentioning that there were some people here, we overheard, our Andes overheard them, people from the local mosque here, who said, Subhanallah, their mosque is burning down. And of course, it was a very, very sad, very hurtful day for us. But Allah has His own plans. We never know, never understand it. So Allah wanted a more beautiful building to be put on there. So Khalifatul Masih Al-Khamis Sayyid Talab Nasri's mentions that. He said, Inshallah, we will put a beautiful structure here, and then we will say, Alhamdulillah, and we will be the ones who will thank Allah for this. And you can see now, then we employed one of the top architects in the UK, John Caslin architect, and they came up with this beautiful design. And by the grace of Allah, it's under construction now. It's quite advanced. We have all the structural elements are in place. The stone, as you saw in the presentation, has come from Portugal. It's arrived here. A lot of the stone is already been installed by very specialist stone masons in the UK. And Alhamdulillah, the whole progress is going according to plan. Now, we are hopeful that the stonework will be finished by August. And in the meantime, in order for us to try and keep costs as low as possible, we have also started using some of our own workers to help with some of the work related to finishes. The main structural, M&E, all of that work is being done by the main company, main contractor. But some of the finishing work, inshallah, will be done by our own people, and we will be able to buy the materials directly, and that hopefully should affect a bit of saving for us in the overall cost of the project. So it is our hope and wish that, inshallah, this will be a building that we'll all be very proud of one day. It will be a building that will stand out as a diamond in this part of the world, and certainly in London it will be something that everyone would want to refer to and say, go and see that building. It will be, inshallah, already Baitul Futuh, the mosque itself, is world-renowned, and this will only add to its glory, inshallah, one day. Now, as far as the construction goes, what the thing is that there are going to be a hall on the ground floor, very high ceiling. Those of you who remember Nasser Hall, it was very, very low ceiling. It was just a loading bay that had been converted into a hall. But now it's going to be a beautiful hall, not quite as high as this, but it's still very high ceilings. And with the colonnade in front of it, so it will be that the men will come in through the security and turn right through the colonnade, which will be a beautifully covered colonnade, and then walk through a covered walkway this side, and the ladies will come right through there to the mosque, right straight forward. So when you see it, you will see that the way it's been constructed, it's got elegance, beauty, and a lot of very pleasing to the eye features. And then we have a hall above that, which is in fact a bigger hall. In fact, it will be 2 halls where we can get up to about 3,000 people in those 2 halls. And then above that, we have offices, and then we have accommodation on the following 2 halls. So there'll be about 10 units where will be accommodation rooms, and then dormitories. There will about, I think, 30 per room, yes. So there are about, I think we will be able to accommodate about 200-300 people in that area. Now, as you know that because of Khilafat in this country, we are very blessed. And remember that we are host to the rest of the world now. And this center is going to become very busy because a lot of guests from around the world who want to come and see Khalifatul Masih will arrive in this country. And we will see a lot of traffic in this building. So it is going to be a very, very busy center. And we will need a lot of help, especially because you are the local region. You are the region that is attached to this mosque now. This is basically your mosque, basically. And therefore, not only will you be actively involved with the day-to-day running of this complex, but I would hope that today that you can show us that financially as well, as a region that is responsible for this main structure, that you will support this fundraising today. Now, I know by the grace of Allah, lots of you have already committed a lot of money. Some of you have paid some. I would hope that first you can fulfill your promises anyway. But then the idea today is that we need to go slightly beyond what you've done, so that, we have to dig deeper in trying to see what we can do in terms of this funding. You've heard that we still have a requirement of about £5 or £6 million. And then remember that even when we finish the main building, there are issues to do with landscaping, there are going to be issues to do with security, there will be issues to do with outside, for instance. We are now involved with the terrorism police, because this is becoming a key building in London now. So the terrorism police, in view of what is happening in London generally with cars being used to run down people, they are bringing in new requirements that we will have to fulfill on the main road as well, to put in huge bollards for the safety of our members, so that nobody can come and run them over when there's a big crowd outside. Also, the gatehouses, they will be made of special materials, so that, if God forbid something happens, that it does not harm people. Even the front, the glasses at the front of the building will also have special terrorism features to prevent damage being done if, God forbid, there was a danger. So all of this, of course, is going to cost extra money. Then we also, at the moment, we don't want to touch it, but the security house is going to become an eyesore when this beautiful building is going to stand behind it, because that's the first thing you see as you come around the corner. So we'll have to see how we address that building so that it reads well with the rest of the building. So that is, again, something that we have an architect working on to try and see how those things can be combined. So inshallah, there's a lot of work that is taking place, and we will keep you appraised of progress. Then, of course, this is always a very active center for weddings. I always tell the story that the year before the main building burned down, in 3 weeks before Jalsa, I attended 42 weddings here. I was attending 3 weddings in a day, and I remember one day I had done 2 weddings, and I was on my way home, and I got a call saying, Amir Sahib, where are you? I said, what's the problem? He said, we're waiting for you. We've got to come and do the White Tower wedding. So I had to turn around and come back. So this is only going to increase. By the grace of Allah, the Jamaat is increasing. Therefore, this beautiful union will also continue to increase. And we will see this becoming a very active center from that point of view. Now, then, if you remember that we have a lot of children's classes and events taking place here, local Jamaats are very actively using these. The auxiliary organizations very actively use these centers. The local authority is very actively using this center. The college here uses this for exams. The police and the fire people also use these for their own activities. And that will also increase. And we welcome that because, that is part of our community activity that we allow them to come in here. Now, once we're doing that, by the grace of Allah, nothing else has stopped. We have 6 live projects which are going on apart from this Baitul Futuh. So the first one, which is just finished a couple of weeks ago when Huzur inaugurated, was the South Hall project. I don't know if they can show us a photograph of the South Hall. So this, you won't believe it, that this was a building that has been constructed on a 3-bedroom property. And it is a very unique building. We were looking for a lot of sites. We could not find anything. But we then decided to develop what we had there. And on a 3-bedroom house plot, we have put a building which can hold 700 people for prayers. It has a 3-bedroom flat on top for the Murabbi. It has offices, and it still has one space for car park as well. It is, if you haven't seen it, I would urge you to go and look at it. It is one of the most beautiful mosques. And South Hall, it is a key building in South Hall now, by the grace of Allah. Then we have our next project is Scunthorpe, where we are, by the grace of Allah, just about to finish off our mosque there. And this is going to hopefully complete within the next few weeks. And it is going to be another beautiful mosque for the UK Jamaat. Then after that, we also, for quite a while, we were having problems in Spen Valley because it's a very anti-Ahmadi place. We had tried many times to find a place, and in a lot of time we actually got close to it. But then when they found out we were Ahmadis, even the solicitors wouldn't deal with us. So eventually Allah gifted us with this beautiful church. And it's a very beautiful building. And we are actually putting an additional floor and building the Murabbi's house there. So inshallah, this will be another very beautiful building once it has been completed. Then we also acquired another property in Blackburn, where again we have bought something for the local Jamaat, and some work is going to take place there. It will, once the work is taken place, and the potential of building a purpose-built mosque adjacent to it as well. So hopefully this, inshallah, work is going to start shortly as well. And then Huddersfield, we, by the grace of Allah, have planning permission now to build a mosque there in the site that we purchased a few years back. And inshallah, we will be starting work on that project as well. And finally, Cardiff, where we acquired another property, and we have now planning permission again to build a beautiful mosque there. So that is also going to start, inshallah, in the near future. So you can see that nothing has stopped. It is only Allah's blessing that we are able to do all this, but it does mean that we need your help now. This is the time to dig deep and do whatever you can. I know it's Allah who is providing. There are hundreds of stories I can tell you of this Baitul Futuh project. I remember when we did the first ever fundraising, not for this one, for the mosque, we had a committee, and I said to the committee, so how much money do you think we'll get? And they said, Amir Sahib, if we get 100,000, we'll be doing well. And I said, we're not, with 100,000, we can't build a mosque. So we asked for 500,000, and immediately the Jamaat responded, and they gave us 550,000 promises, 300 paid on the night, and we only had invited 200 people like we have today. And then within 2 weeks, that figure had gone up to 750,000 pounds. Then we did other functions like this, but then 6 months we desperately needed another £500,000. So I asked the committee to call the same 200 people, and they said, Amir Sahib, you must be mad, we've taken everything from them. How are we going to get any more money? So I said, just call them. We called them. By the time we went for Maghrib and Isha prayers, we had been pledged £350,000. And when we got back, I prayed during the Mars. I said, Allah, we desperately need £500,000. So when we got back, I was told £500,000 was there. I never asked how, why, or where. It is Allah who provides, and Allah will provide for this mosque as well. I have no fear of that, because Allah is the one who is going to do it. But we all have to just remember that whatever we do here, not only Allah will give it back manifold during this life here, but it will also be giving you reward in the hereafter. And if you remember that, and I'll finish in the last story, where when Alexander the Great, who we all know was a very famous king, when he was about to die, he called one of his ministers and said, do me a favor, when I die, please do me one favor, leave my hands outside the coffin so that people can see my hands. And the minister said, O king, you are one of the greatest kings, you have such huge fortunes, you have victories over many lands. Why do you want to leave your hands out of the coffin when you die? He said, I want the people to know that I came into this world with nothing, and I'm going to leave this world with nothing. All we're going to take back with us is our pious deeds and whatever we've done in the way of Allah. So with those words, I would like to thank everyone who's here today. I would like to thank the Regional Amir Sahib and his team who organized this function. May Allah enable us to fulfill our promises to Allah, and maybe we can dig deep today and give towards this beautiful project. Jazakallah. You want to do Q&A? Yes. Whilst they're going to put the food out, anyone who may have any questions, you're most welcome to ask the question, and then inshallah we'll have food.
So there are 2 roaming mics, so if anyone would like to ask a question, even in the Lajna, we've placed a mic there. A number of members around the country were always asking questions about the progress, which we've tried to give as much as possible, but please do feel free to ask. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. And Dr. Khan Sahib, there is the mic there for you.
What I'd like to ask is, the pathway from the outside for the ladies going to the ladies' side of the mosque, is it going to be covered in this area? Because at the moment, if you go this way, it's uncovered.
Inshallah, it is our plan to cover both sides, both for the men and the women, inshallah. Ji, any other questions? Anyone on the ladies' side? Any questions that you may have?
There's another question here to the right.
Assalamu alaikum. I was listening about the phases and the completion, and just wanted to double check if you know when the final completion expected date is.
Yes, the expected date, we hope to have the main construction finished by January, February time, and then there will be outside landscaping and various things. So probably, I would say that April, May time next year, we will be close to completion. But then it will also, some of these projects have a longer life because, like I said, we have to address the other building as well. So it all depends how far we are prepared to go. And it will also depend how much funds we have in order to do the extra work.
Jazakallah.
There is another mic. There's a question there near the main entrance.
I was just wondering about the car parking arrangements. So will the car parking entry be at the back as it currently is? And will the building impact upon the amount of car parking space that is available?
Good question. It all depends on what the local authority allow us. They have temporarily given us permission to come from the rear because the front is not possible. Now, if there is objection from the neighbors at the rear, they could, because technically we're not allowed to come from the rear. But it is possible that they may relax a little bit because local people have got used to it and they may relax it. But ideally what they want is entry and exit from the front. So we will probably have to revert to that. As far as the spaces is concerned, we have about 254 spaces there when we have a clear site. Unfortunately, because of the cabins and the marquees and everything else that was going on, we have lost all of that. We probably now only have approximately 100 odd spaces. So inshallah, as soon as the construction is completed, then it is our intention to remove everything and put it all back to car parking. So it will give us at least 250 car parking spaces.
There's a question here to the left.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. I want to know the deadline for the donations, like if we make the promises, what's the deadline for that?
Deadline now should be to the end of the year, 1 year. Okay, please, because I think the more you can pay up front, the better, but you have 1 year to pay your funds.
Whilst we're waiting questions, if I can just ask the Basri team to show us the targets at the moment. You can see on your screen what the current position is. So since we started the function, there's also online donations coming in Amir Saab. So people are donating online and via the hotline. But at the moment, the current numbers are showing that in the evening so far, we've raised, including promises, just under £130,000.
Okay.
So there's an extra question here. I'll be from Amir Saab.
Amir Saab, since we've opened the back gate for pedestrians, it's been a godsend. There's a number of good factors associated with that. Obviously, our NHS is overloaded. People will be able to walk now from the back around there, whereas the people living in the back there will have to then drive if they're coming through. So could we at least approach the council from the side of exercise, that people can still walk from the back? I am one of the people who live around the back, so I would love to maintain the pedestrian access.
It is our intention then. To try
the second thing is that you mentioned that there are a number of halls in the new complex. What kind of staircases we have? I say that because I know the mosque, when you're exiting the mosque and it's packed, it can be a little tight getting out. Will we have sufficient staircases in the new complex?
There are staircases on both sides and lifts on both sides. Any other questions?
Amir Saab, would you like to remind our members of the donations for families and the £10,000?
Yes, I think one thing that when people are giving and making promises, please do not forget your elders. Because, those who are not with us or those who are elderly and cannot, we should try and pay on their behalf as well. And as you know that
Hazur Akhtas has said that those who pay 10,000, their names will go out in a plaque and within the new building. And that will be forever something that will remain there for people coming many years. People will, children will come, grandchildren will come and say, let's see if our father's or our grandfather's name is on that plaque. I promise you that is going to happen in years to come. So we should try and make sure that at least where possible, we should remember our elders and put their name in there as well, please.
Is there any questions from the Lajna side, Regional Sadr Saiba? Any questions?
The 10,000 can be...
Jazakallah, there aren't any questions from the Lajna side.
Jazakallah. Sorry, Amir Sahib, you're saying?
The £10,000 can be collectively given from the family, and then the family name can go up as well, if that is what people wish.
Just as an incentive for the Baitul Futuh region, when we visited Middlesex region, which on a Tajneed basis is without a doubt less than 50% the size of your region, Amir Sahib, if I may announce how much they had collected, they had actually collected 500,000 on the night itself with additional promises to come in. When we visited Midlands region, before we'd actually even attended the event, there were 350,000 of promises before the evening's event. And by the night, we hit 600,000 that night. So Baitul Futuh is the largest region in Tajneed-wise in the whole of UK. So even though today's event, there are approximately, from my understanding, just under 250 people here today. But please do inform your family and your friends. These are unique circumstances where a number of people couldn't attend today. But after today's event, please do make the awareness campaign. Is there any other questions for respective the Amir Sahib and the committee?
There's a hand going up there. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Jiwa Sam.
Which I just wanted to ask if there was any plan for a controlled pedestrian crossing right in front of the mosque.
It is very much something that we want to do, and it is we are in discussions with the local authority. We're hoping that they'll play ball, inshallah. It is very much on our mind.
So whilst the main course is a few minutes away, but the starters are coming, is there any other further questions from the... And at the same time, even whilst after dinner is concluded, should you wish to come and speak to any of the members, feel free to do so.
So let's end with Solemn Prayer. You can enjoy your dinner, and then please give generously and make your promises if you are not able to pay everything immediately. Join me in Solemn Prayer, please. Ameen. I don't think we put in enough effort here to you're 4,500 people in this region.
Yes,
Others who have nothing to do with this.